Coming next to the DevFest stage is someone who by no means is a stranger to this stage. Irwin Williams is one of our longest returning speakers at this event. I'm really happy to have him again here. He's an experienced technology executive and the head of development at iGovTT, where he leads the delivery of innovative SaaS solutions supporting digital transformation of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. His work focuses on building secure, scalable, and citizen-centered digital platforms at national scale. Previously, Irwin served as Chief Software Engineer at Telio Systems, where he guided architectural strategy, strengthened engineering practices, and advanced product development across multiple initiatives. Beyond industry leadership, Irwin is deeply passionate about teaching, advocacy, and community building, contributing to educational and technology leadership efforts across the Caribbean. His work reflects a strong commitment to innovation, mentorship, and impactful transformation. Audience members of DevFest, please stage.
We're volunteer here at iGovTT. Thank you very much, Nicholas Mendes and your team for again putting together another DevFest. I'm here to talk about Anansi. But before I do that, it's been out for a few months. Anybody here has not heard about Anansi in terms of, any Anansi? Anybody here don't know what Anansi is at all? Let me start over. I see one hand. This is Anansi for you've never heard of Anansi at all. That is amazing. That's great. Let me see the hands of those who have heard about Anansi in the context of a bandit, a trickster, a stinker. Those people.
Maybe the spider.
Yeah, the spider. Alright, good. So we have those people. Good. And now, those who heard about Anansi, ironically, national assistant to help you be better. Alright, so most of us, but one of us hasn't heard anything at all. That's great. You are my audience, forget the rest of them. But anyway, we'll go on, and of course, I want to talk about Anansi, the solution we built. But I also want to see if I could ground it in some ideas around this mentality that led to the solution, or what kind of drives us forward. Yes? I am not a philosopher. I'm a humble software developer. So anything that seems too philosophically and actually is wrong, I'm sorry. But for sure, the truth of what I'm sharing is what drives how we think about the work and what gets the work done. Yes? So let's go. How should I click up? I'm going to try to walk around and so I know there's a camera, so I can't walk too much out. I kind of stay in this little spot here and dance here. Right? Innovation in our teams is a big deal for us, and I think that's one of the driving things. But as we go forward, I actually want to talk about what this Anansi thing is. If I left, I missed this slide here. This is the Deputy CEO at iGovTT. This was part of our submission for something called the IDB Praise Awards, President's Awards for Innovation and Service Excellence in public service. So iGovTT submitted Anansi to one of the categories. There's a bit of what Charles Bob Temple had to say about what Anansi is.
What we observe, persons would have had challenges in one, communicating with government. I'm not sure which ministry I should ask for certain information. And so what we did is debunked or made all of that simple. You don't need to know which ministry. You don't need to make a phone call. You could ask Anansi, Anansi.tt. You go on Anansi, ask Anansi any question you have on any service in government, whether cross-platform. And what Anansi does, it provides you with human-like responses that are smart and intelligent based on the question that you have asked.
So the video goes on longer, but you get the point. Anansi is meant to help you discover and understand government or public services available to you as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Right? So that's the goal of Anansi, the solution. So it's evolved from certain challenges we identified in terms of how we build systems. So to be clear, in iGovTT, we're building software solutions, we're building other kinds of solutions, networking. iGovTT stands for the National ICT Company of Trinidad and Tobago. And that actually means any public entity, ministry, department, or agency can reach out to us to help them with projects they have of an ICT nature. It could be a website, it could be networking, set up Wi-Fi if you please, it could be anything related to cybersecurity. We're a one-stop shop for anything ICT. my team heads up software development. What that actually means, if you're building software in the government, you can come to us to get it done. Yeah? So we go through a process that kind of underscores whatever product we're building. So we don't just, I was going to say we don't just start writing code, but that's actually not true. Sometimes you do just start writing code because, as we all know, if you're a developer in the room, and I'm seeing hands of developers in the room who write code, even if it's a hobby type developer. Wow! Hold on, let's do that again. Let me see the hands of those who write code, either as a student, a hobbyist, or a professional.
Any language?
Any language. Oh, let me relock that one. Hold on, what's going on here? So let's flip it around. If you don't write code, what do we do? What are you doing for?
No, I am using Python and data
Python.
analysis.
Okay.
By data analysis.
And data analysis.
Good.
Listen, I have a friend. She's a very good data scientist. I want to call her name, but I won't. Like really good, amazing, expert. She does not consider herself a software developer. It is an amazing thing. Because in my mind, wait, I think of, sorry, I changed it wrong? Oh, all right. I think of all, once it touching that machine to get something output, that involves a machine doing work, you're a developer to me. But I think the distinction sometimes is not quite the same for others. But we're happy to all be one big family. Yes? Good. So for the most part, we're all writing code. And as I said, sometimes we start with, this would be a cool idea, and build it out. To be clear, those things don't really go that far. When we start on the code side, we know there's a high possibility to get thrown away. That's just a reality. Because you start with code and more than likely we just explore and figuring things out. When we start on this side, what are the challenges? What are you trying to fix? What's going on? That then leads to solutions that could exist in the government. And those solutions may not involve our code at all, but they'll be a solution. It will work, will deliver some value. So from our perspective, we're delivering value to meet challenges like this. And these are some of the challenges that led to the thoughts that then produce an answer. Does that make sense? Right. So we're going on. And so when we ask citizens, well, what do you want from a solution like this? And a solution like this being a national digital assistant, right? Because that didn't, in Trinidad, it didn't exist before, not on the national level. People may have done their own vertical solutions. You may have had one for health or one for finance, but there wasn't really one that covered government services in the main. And as you'll see in this presentation, we did actually have versions before Anansi, but they were very, very vertical. They were focused on one ministry or one MDA. And so some of the services we thought that should be provided by something like Anansi. And I'm not going to go too video at you, but I do want you to get context. So the previous video was Charles Bob Semple, our deputy CEO, talking about how great Anansi is for the praise awards. And this is Anansi's launch. Hands, I like interaction, I'm sorry. Hands, if you've ever walked into a TT Connect service center. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's really good. Because before I got TT, I didn't. What is that? That's just the thing you're passing up on the road. I didn't actually know what this is before I started doing it. And we get to, not to pry into your business. But why? Why are we going into a service center? To register a business. So we have people to register businesses. Why else are we going there? Gates. Oh, that's why your hands. All of you are gate people. We'll come back to gate. Yes. Apart from gates, why else? Any other reasons?
E-tax.
E-tax. To get the ID, the e-tax ID. All right, good. So we know what TT Connect. And that, from the time, and to be honest, you know what TT Connect as an adult. Meaning, when you start adulting, TT Connect suddenly becomes relevant because you do a tax return. You need to sign into the IRD site. And all of a sudden, you find one in St. Jay, or the one in Curragh, or the one in Princestown. You find them, right? So TT Connect rarely is like the national concierge. Because sometimes you're going there to find out where else to go. But you have to go there. And so Edson is sharing a bit about that history, the evolution that went from the physical thing to other aspects of it.
Bringing services closer to communities, offering a single point of contact for multiple government needs. It was a revolution in its own right. a commitment to putting the citizens' convenience at the forefront. And as the world moved online, we moved with it, launching TTGovChat. We were proud to deploy 32 active chat instances across ministries and agencies' websites, creating a digital frontline and indexing over 7,000 frequently asked questions to provide immediate answers. This was a foundational step and a very successful one. It demonstrated our commitment to digital access and service. In fact, we are incredibly proud to share that our live chat services have consistently maintained a 93% customer satisfaction rating. That number stands as a testament to the dedication of our agents and our unwavering focus on the quality of your experience. But true service excellence requires honesty. And honestly, while we celebrated that success, we also recognize the limitations of that foundation. The information, while helpful, was often siloed. A citizen on one ministry's website could not get an answer that lived on another's. The interactions were functional, but they were not yet conversational. You had to navigate menus and ask questions in a very specific way. The system was helpful, but not yet intelligent.
So that last thing Edson said, the system was, you guys heard that? The system was helpful, but not intelligent. He pointed out some of the limitations of TT Connect at the time, the service that was delivered at the time. Yes, we were trying to be a concierge at a national level. And here we processed 15,000 tickets in over 18 months. It's not bad. It represents people who are working consistently, which is a big deal. Just the idea that you can deliver a given service, any service, not just for 1 week or for 1 month or even for a year, but you could do it repeatedly. That is a challenge, and sometimes a lot of public spaces, so public service delivery has those challenges. How do you do it consistently? You keep those lights on and keep people interested and help them to understand the service. So something we're aware of, we're keenly aware of it. And so when we have services, so for example, one of our services has been running from a software perspective for 6 years. That's like a big deal. It might seem like that's nothing, that's just 6 years. But in the context of public service delivery, there are lessons to be learned from that. There are some services we know are running for 15 years. Now, when you hear that, you're also supposed to get frightened. Because 15 years means what in an IT context? It's the L word.
Legacy.
Legacy. That system built. How do you keep that up? Who knows about it? So things like that come to mind. And so in this context, some legacy aspects, so it's siloed. 32 websites all being managed as 32 different individual points of service. It was functional, but not conversational. So what was Anansi trying to do? Get us into a place where we can consolidate those FAQs. Because they're getting 7,000, but they're actually related to different ones of those 32 services. And get us to the place where you need to know, oh, if I want to get service A, then I need to go by Ministry B's website. And if I need to get service B, then I need to go by Ministry Z's website. Or you might find yourself Googling, and Google giving you wrong website, wrong information. These things happen, right? But can we find a way to bring it all together? So Nicole is here, she's a head of comms at iGovTT. And she's talking about this last bit that I think I really want to drive home, which is why, part of why we're sharing it is sometimes we share this stuff all the time online. And I actually think, well, everyone sees it until my very close family tells me I never hear nothing about that, except when I say it. And so if you've heard this before, I'm sorry. But if you haven't, this stuff we're sharing online, you can follow us on social just to get a sense of what we're doing from a national ICT perspective. And so feel free to reach out to us for links to this stuff. But this is Nicole Green, our head of comms at iGov.
This is an elevation of what previously existed in our TTGov chatbots. It is an elevation of trying to deliver service better to you. So we've anticipated that Anansi the chatbot would handle 80% of customer inquiries and 20% would need specialized nuanced care from our human intelligence, from our customer service reps. And that's turned out to be true. So we are able, through that, to elevate not just the number of queries and inquiries that we can address, but the quality of service that can be provided to the citizens as well.
So we get a sense of what we're trying to do. Elevate service delivery and doing it via very modern approaches. Apologies to the meme, but those of us who watching Avatar and rewatching Avatar, there was a foundational change with the impact of language models, right? So when large language models turned up, where's this chat button you have a point and click on your website? Right? You have to press a button. You can't ask what you want. You have to actually ask these questions in that format. So from TT GovChat, we went to Anansi, right? And so in the past, you had this FAQ-driven approach. You actually had to ask questions that were in the FAQ already. Remember, what does FAQ stand for? Frequently asked questions. So you have to ask one of those frequently asked questions. If you have some random question, well, sorry. So that's what we had in the past. And of course, I mentioned the siloed state of affairs. But now, we work with, and I want to touch on this live chat thing because I have some developer friends who's bummed me down. You know, developer friends are like, well, you do nothing there. You're just using live chat. What you do? And this is me, I write in code for like 15 years. I'm writing code for 2 years. And I'll be goal. What you do? We write it because I am him. I would have said the same thing to me. What is he really doing? But we'll come back to that. We are using specialized LLMs to deliver the service, right? Instead of 32 different sets of services that somebody's managing, it's unified, right? And so all those sources of information, the FAQs are still there, but now you can send us as an MDA. MDA is a ministry, department, or agency. When in the government, you say that all the time, especially us doing service delivery, we always say MDA this, MDA that, but people always say, what is an MDA? An MDA, a ministry or department or an agency, can send us documents in any format now. They don't need to actually pull it out and be like, make it into an FAQ. They don't need to ask their CSRs. What do people ask you? Let's take all the documents. And then using what we know to be, and I said LLMs real boldly, real quickly, because I think I'm talking to the crowd that living in that space. But that's the large language models, the stuff that ChatGPT uses. Yes, so when November 2022 hit, and ChatGPT came out, I know all of us was like, this thing real bad. And maybe by the next month you start to use it yourself and build with it and do cool stuff. And it's kind of cool. That was 3 years ago. We're in November. That's 3 years ago. So from this kind of hit me while I was preparing for today. Normally when you have new tech like this, it actually takes a while before a public service gets involved in it. It's not 3 years. Maybe longer. And part of that is that there are some cycles within public service delivery that people who are in private sector or in school don't know about. Procurement is a big deal. Procurement takes real long. It takes 6 months. So to be clear, procurement, the only what procure means to get. Procurement is just getting, not implementing, not fixing after you tried the first time and it broke. So sometimes a service can take 9 months just to get to pilot, which is why sometimes in public circles, those say you have a pilot. Because as people who know that that's not real yet. You need to get to production. And so the idea of getting to production with a solution like this, 3 years after it became public to the world. So LLMs were out longer than that. But let's put ChatGPT as the watershed moment for LLMs and for that technology. 3 years hence, I think is a big deal. I think there's something there we want to discover, which is why that idea of what is the mentality that led to this? What did we do? And one of the things we did was, we didn't do it from scratch. We went with live chat. And part of what I meant is the whole procurement thing, not a concern for us. Because we used existing relationships. We actually have reduced the cost of how much it would have cost for us simply because we were using live chat for chat before. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you grab onto that new stuff without doing some of the stuff you did in the past? Does that make sense? Can you find a new way to at least understand, settle into what the world is trying to offer? You may still find you have to go out and do those procurements, to be clear, but a little more insight, a little more understanding, and you've delivered value much more quickly. We'll come back to that, I think. So it allowed us to explore insights, because instead of thinking how to build this thing, how to rebuild ChatGPT, we could have gone past that. All right, let's pretend we had ChatGPT in our hands. We have our own kind of a Google. What would we do with it? Well, you can ask, because we still have bright people and firing staff. You still need developers, Nicholas. Instead of my developers building ChatGPT, they building something else. Yeah? And that's a real fundamental thing for me I have a team of developers. I want them to be working real hard to solve hard challenges. But what challenges turns out to be a function of understanding what the world is doing and what you could do to get over some of the hurdles that others may have to treat with. So, all the results, this is up to November 17th, so it'll be a little more now. I'm sorry that's so small. But on the Anansi website, there's 160,000 visits. That's like people just turn up on their site. For these kinds of services, that's not really heard of. They're not going to a government site just. They're not. What are you going to your site for? Right, it's across public service. That's a big deal. It says somebody's interested. People asking questions. And how many people? 31,000 conversations. So before you would have heard Edson Eastman say, in 18 months, we had 15,000 tickets addressed. And Anansi was launched on August the 4th of this year. So that's 4 months. So in 4 months, 31,000 different conversations had with Anansi. And these are insights we can just talk about because we didn't think about how to build ChatGPT. We had something like ChatGPT now. How do we get insights from what people are asking? The satisfaction rating, we love to be north of 80%. Right? What does that mean? It means, for the most part, 4 in 5 people are having a good time with the solution. And we started to kind of appreciate having a good time does not mean they're full of joy and delight. When I want to know how to register my passport, I'm not going to leave with the, gosh, golly, John, this government is great. I'm just going to leave with thanks. Our goal is this point here, that frustration is generally low. Right? They're not having a fantastic time asking how to renew your driver's license. But they want to know they got a clear answer they can work with. I remember my brother was like, hey, that's just some bad boy. What do you mean? Well, I was trying to get a certified copy and nobody had any information. So I went to this Anansi thing and I asked it. And I just answered. And it was accurate. He was happy with the accurate part. Like, you have this kind of sense that maybe they lie. And I'll tell you, they could lie. They could lie. But go back to what Nicole said, right? What happens if Anansi lied to you? Now, let's ask, what happens if Google lied to you? Can Google lie to you right now? When Google developers do. Can Bing lie to you right now?
Yes.
Yes. Now, if Bing lies to you, what do you do when Bing lies? You press the button, you know the button that says, you could go to DuckDuckGo, but they might lie as well. And both of them, you might find they press the little down. Do any of us actually ever press those feedback things that give feedback? For those of us who do, you press that little thumbs down and it's gone. That's service dotish. With Anansi, you could do the same thing. We give you that download button, but we also give you the ability to talk to us. You can actually transfer your request to a human agent. Now, in private sector, that is normal. That is just customer relationship management systems. Most CRMs allow you to hand over to a human assistant, right? Public sector, for an automated system. And I don't mean to be clear, not Trinidad and Tobago's public sector. In general, when you actually think about how you compare Anansi, the critical thing for us as developers is thinking, oh, it's LLM, it's an LLM, it's AI, it's a website. So asking, is it mobile responsive? Does it work as fast as ChatGPT? We actually, let me say that, I have to force myself to remember that Anansi is not just a clone of ChatGPT or the government Google, which is easy to say. It's worked the kind of same way. But none of those other providers allow you to actually create a ticket that a human will call you about if it's a weekend. To be clear that people have homes and lives and things, right? We're not a call center that we're looking 24/7 for your queries, just to be clear. But if you ask a question today and they don't like the answer, you need some more support, some more fine-tuning, and you need a human to get in, you can press that button and it'll be transferred and they'll make a ticket for you and they'll call you. I tell you, for real, they will do that. That's amazing to me. Because you need to get the best of both worlds. You're going to get that LLM type treatment, which you didn't have with GovChat before, and they're going to get a human to talk to later on. Yeah? That's Anansi. So I'm really here to talk about that mentality. Why do we do it like that? We did it like that because we felt, let's grab on to this technology. And when it was kind of like, if you had asked me how to build this Anansi, honestly, I'm sorry, I may have said, all right, we need to get some GPUs, we need to get some, maybe we'll get DeepSeek, might get Llama 3 model, run it on a server, and we need to build infrastructure around it. And I will tell you, give me 6 to 9 months. Because by default, I just want to build everything. When I hear there's a service like, let's say like a live chat or talk to or any of the other providers, they'll give me this and grab it onto it. Now mind, this is me making that very rational, pragmatic choice. You as a developer, you are still free to build your own version. And I would support that. I think you should actually go ahead and do it. But when we're thinking, how do we negotiate this world and grab onto the best opportunities? That's what we think we're thinking about. We're thinking about, oh, let's use that provider and then get this data. Find out what people are asking about. This is very small. This is breaking all rules of presentation. So I'll say this here. So it's top 15 topics, and it goes from passport application to driver's license, business registration, appointments, all the way down to book grants. These are the top 15 questions in Anansi across those 31,000 conversations. So remember, I'm saying, wait, if I'm not building the ChatGPT, what am I doing? I'm getting this data. And why is that data important? Because then we can impact services. I'm not going to run this video, too many videos, I can't do videos, but I'll tell you what it is. This is Anansi going beyond ask me a question. This is Anansi where Anansi can let you book an appointment, start the process in Anansi. Because of what it is, we have a national appointment system. Everybody here should know if you book a passport before. Anybody get a passport at all and you have to book an appointment? You know that system was built because of a hackathon? You know that was built with GDG 6 years ago. 6 years ago, one of the GDG finalists produced an appointment system. It took about a year in iGovTT to make ready for production. And that was rolled out to the public, and that still serves the public to today. So what we did was said, hey, if you go to Anansi, you actually put the words book appointment. It will take you a bunch of questions. Which service do you care about? What's your time frame? Things like that. And then give you a specific link straight into the appointment. That's integration. I see it as a slightly agentic approach to Anansi. Is that a hand up in a class? Oh my God, go ahead.
What do you mean by live chat?
Oh, live chat is a service provider. It's livechat.com. Yeah? When you use Anansi, it actually says in the bottom, powered by live chat. And you know, the friends will be like, fire for that government, anybody do that? I agree with them. That's not my problem. It works.
So like ChatGPT on steroids?
No, not on steroids. ChatGPT real bad. Let's give Jacques Jackson and Jill flowers. ChatGPT is still great. We're not saying in any way, shape, or form this thing is better than that thing. All I'm saying is this thing works. Yes?
I was going to ask this about the slide that you showed before. That is your training data or you call the
So anybody?
AI is very
Yes.
short in data.
Yes.
We not have found open data easily. And then how do you get the to train the model or you not train the model?
We don't train our models specifically. We do provide data to it. So like Chat does that for us. When you're doing, it's like, it's RAG. It's very RAG. So with RAG, RAG is retrieval augmented generation. So if you have an LLM, like a foundation model, and you want to actually refine it for whatever purpose, you can use an approach like RAG to give you the focus results you want and reduce the hallucinations. It doesn't throw it all away, but it certainly helps a lot with the responses you get. Yeah?
Is Android and iOS something you have?
Is Android and iOS? Yes, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, so do you foresee any future actually like implementing the ability to execute some transactions?
Do we foresee the ability to execute transactions on behalf of citizens in Anansi? Certainly. Now, mind you, let me bring in an important bit that happened along the way to Anansi. So, Anansi was produced by iGovTT by the guidance and direction of Ministry of Public Admin and AI. So, hand in hand, we're working on this, right? One of the structures we realized we needed, and when I say we, not me, Irwin, but between the ministry, my executive, and the other producers in iGovTT, we needed a data governance committee. So Anansi has a data governance committee because the domain of both the app and agentic behavior, Anansi doing things on behalf of citizens, pulls very deeply into citizen data, private data of citizens. And so when you do that, you have to be extremely careful. So we pay attention to that, and the governance committee will help us drive towards exactly that. Because of course, there are things that citizens want you to do. Find out who the status of my gate application. Is that familiar to anyone? But we can't just, what's the name? What's the email address? Oh, what's the gate application ID? And then go straight across the gate with no sense of whether data is being managed or stored. So it creates that kind of environment. Now mind you, having done Anansi, it allows us to treat that question. So that's the first time that question came to us. And it came within 2 months of building Anansi. Yeah?
So since you're on this possible roadmap of being able to access data from other governmental ministries,
Yeah.
what steps is this project taking for things like prompt injection and all these new threats to AI, being able to access that data?
So really good question on prompt injection in general. And what I'm going to lift it up from Anansi a little bit. Anybody familiar with China Legal's cybersecurity incident response team, PPCC?
Yeah.
So one of the fundamentals that iGovTT has adopted is any software releasing, it must be essentially reviewed by cybersecurity professionals, both internally in iGovTT as well as TPCC. For the sake of LLMs, that's now vertical. So generally cybersecurity, you guys know the OWASP top 10, right? That's one of the things what we developers pay attention to. I haven't heard of a thing called an OWASP for LLMs, but it is a category of consideration that means we now have to spend a lot of time essentially hardening the system, especially when it relates to do things on my behalf. This is also not a done deal. You know what databases and web development, SQL injection is a known, manage yourself. This world, the world of LLMs, is not known like that at all. It's still, every day you get a new exploit. Or if you ask this question in Chinese in ChatGPT, it will exfiltrate information. What? That's the world we live inside of. But I'm extremely happy we are not saying, oh, the world is dangerous, therefore do nothing. We're saying the world is dangerous, we protect ourselves, and we keep marching into the forest. Yes? I hope we don't get lost in bouncing back. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up by underscoring this Anansi mentality point. And the Anansi story is a really, really powerful one. Stories of Anansi. I think I touched on it here because one of the ones I love is the Anansi and Brer Tiger story. The Tigers to us will say things like this. The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, with its 1.3 million population, building an AI assistant. With what? Did they talk to NVIDIA and they bought some H100s, H200s? They bought a few of those? What qualifies them to even start? You need to wait a little while, you need to spend plenty money. Right? Because that's just the way of Tiger. Right? And you need experts. Now mind you, this one, we're good on this one. And I say that for real. I know Craig Ramnall. Craig Ramnall is the, let's pretend he's the head of AI and engineering in UE. That's not his title, but it's close enough. I remember talking to Craig maybe months after ChatGPT came out. And Craig was like, yeah, we build LLMs. We've been building LLMs before it was released. So this one, I'm worried about. We have the experts. I mean, we have a Patrick who signed, but I should put his name loud so maybe thanks.
I don't think you would mind.
You wouldn't mind, right?
Yes, I do.
So this one I don't worry about. We can find experts. You see these other things? Normal things, that's what Tiger tells us. And by Tiger, I mean Brer Tiger. You know the story of Anansi and Brer Tiger? We know Anansi was a bit of a trickster. Anansi said, hey, my father and my grandfather used to ride Tiger back. I'm not going to go through the whole story. The story is real vibes. Because the story ends with Anansi doing what? Riding Tiger's back. What is that? What is that cunning? What is that intelligence? What is that willingness to understand what they're saying and find your own way? That is the mentality I'm talking about. You have to find your way through it, because other than that, you're waiting for a seat at the table. You're waiting for someone to give you permission, to give you resources, to give you GPUs. And we can't wait for things to get done. I want to end. I love this because this is my CEO, Dr. Engineer John, sharing that evolution is not just about technology. And so, of course, our mentality is not, we're not so loyal to technology, we force ourselves into a box that doesn't serve us. It is about continuity and carrying forward wisdom from our ancestors. And he's actually convened, he was in a conference, and he met Arnold Cavaco. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. He's the acting executive director at the Ghana Data Protection Commission. Because when they met up, he was telling him, hey, we built this thing called Anansi. If you look at, there's a post on LinkedIn where they talk about this. Dr. Miajan has a post and Dr. Kabuko has a post. They both kind of celebrating each other because they bounce each other up. And so it was like Ghana recognizing what Trinidad and Tobago did. Look at that context, look at that thing you've created, that web between the two of us. And it's still this name Anansi. And well, almost and one more slide. This is a young man I met at Praise 2 nights ago. This happens a lot. Not too much, I make it sound like I'm wrong, like a star. Like a youth man will come to me, hey, you come to my class and talk to them. Really? Yeah. He came up to me in 2020, you asked this question: how do we innovate in public service? He was asking me that because he just won an award in the President's Awards for Innovation in Service Excellence. So he was saying, I am the answer, I am the answer. I am the answer to how you innovate. And I love that. I love that for anybody who's here in the room thinking, oh, well, how can I do that stuff? Well, for me, there are things that you can do on Anansi now that reminds me of projects we've spoken about here in Google Developer Fest years ago. The chatbot that I built that lets you search the Ministry of Health website. This same functionality I probably spent weeks building, you could do in Anansi. That's easy. When we build the one to check water schedules, when we build the one to talk about air quality. And this one is exciting for me because on Wednesday evening, these were one of the finalists for Praise Award. This is the EMA's Air Quality Index. To be clear, all of these I experimented with years ago. There was no Anansi, and I didn't have a clue how to get the government to pay attention to what to do. How do you get the government to pay attention to this idea of a chatbot that could answer questions about health centers? But we have it now. And I understand it. I understand how to change this and make it better because I spent the time experimenting. So certainly, part of the mentality is we don't wait for the perfect time. Instead, we leverage what we have to accomplish the goals we have with the resources we have. That's it for me. I'll stop there.